Hi guys, this is Nimsh. I'm here with Dog. This is SL I-League Star Series, almost live. We're actually pre-recorded, Dog. Shoe on head. Oh, it's fine. All right, guys, we just seen an amazing game. We finished day 2. Group B, Group A, all finished. We know who is going to the third day, and I'm super excited to see what's going to happen. Dog, what are your impressions after today?
A lot of strong players made it through, but I mean, everyone here is like a pretty strong player. It was pretty exciting to watch the entire time. I mean, there were a lot of good matches today, for sure.
And what do you think about the last match, where we're watching Jab actually torn by every top deck and every situation that happened on the board? Because Jab got eliminated, unfortunately. And if Lanchenson would lose versus StanCifka, he would be in. He would be playing tomorrow.
I think it's more entertaining to watch like the players whose like life is on the line. So like Jab and the other guy playing StanCifka's life wasn't really on the line, or tournament life wasn't on the line. But Jab's reactions were like hilarious. He was just like cringing at every top deck, and he was just like, "Oh man, the only way you can win is like top deck into Doomguard into Doomguard." And then like 3 turns before StanCifka lost, he was just like, "I bet like it's gonna be Dark Peddler into Soulfire." You can't call stuff like that. It's gonna happen.
That's absolutely true. You only can say not like this. But Jab is eliminated, and we have our 6 players for tomorrow. Dog, yourself, you're going to face Surrender, and then Cipher is going to face StanCifka, where Colento and Alan Shenzhen is already in the top 4. How do you feel about your chances for tomorrow?
So that last match, I was really happy that StanCifka lost, because now I get to play against Surrender, and he brought decks that aren't very good against mine. So that was really good for me. I think my chances are really good. At least my path to the finals should be easy enough, better than my chances were to get out of groups. So pretty excited. It should be fun. Good games.
Absolutely. And we're going to see Renolock Paladin again being played by Colento. And you yourself, Dog, brought some interesting decks as well. But everything will be great. So, guys, remember to stay tuned for tomorrow. There's going to be an awesome Hearthstone, and the prize pool $50,000. Somebody's walking away with $20,000. Dog, is that going to be you?
I mean, whether I win or lose, I'm going to walk out with $20,000, I think.
All right, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys tomorrow.
Hey everybody, welcome to the final day of the StarLadder I-League Finals. My name is Frodan, I'm joined by Nimsh, and today we're going to find out who's going to be the champion of the second season here at StarLadder. We're live from Minsk, Belarus. That's right, it's live, guys. It's actually live. I can tell you right now, it's 5 p.m. on Sunday. I don't know actually what day in January it is. January 24th, I think.
Doesn't matter. If you play Hearthstone,
doesn't matter. It's live, guys. We're in the flesh here. Because I know people who are seeing the rebroadcast are not really sure. So make sure to tell your friends it's happening. We have 6 players remaining, battling out for upwards of $20,000 if you're the winner, breaking down all the way to 1.25K.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and talk about it in just a few seconds. But we're really excited to talk about everything that's happened. How has the event been so far for you, Nimsh?
It was amazing. Every day was great. Every day was packed with action, with a lot of Hearthstone decks, which were interesting as well, intriguing. Day 1, we've seen the Renolock Paladin. Day 2, I think a lot of aggro from Surrender, from Lanchenson, and also the Freeze Mage from StanCifka with the Reno inside. That was really surprising to me.
We've had some pretty good surprises. We've had some really wacky scenarios and games that come down to the wire. We've also had some interesting decks, like Nimsh has mentioned, which has surfaced, one of them being the Renolock Paladin. A couple of very weird tech choices coming out from StanCifka, right? We saw the Fel Cannon, the Reno Warlock, also his choice of Control Priest, right? That's a very interesting thing. Dog, in the meantime, has split his opinion with the Dragon Priest. Right now, the Russian stream is going on a tour around the entire tavern. Once again, for anybody just tuning in, we have a group of 20, 30 people here sitting, eating, playing Hearthstone on their phones and tablets, drinking some happiness juice, and just generally having a really good time here. But they're going through a tour, and they're going to take a couple minutes. So in the process, we're going to show you guys some highlights of how we got here before we get into our first match, which is going to be a wonderful pleasure. So make sure to hang around, guys. We'll be back in just a couple seconds. Because the thing about the Muster for Battle is that it might activate on the in-game boss and spawn a lot of 1/1s. So that was definitely not desirable for Surrender when he first looked at it.
Yeah, and Koghammer seems pretty good, but he might go for Master here.
This is interesting. I first thought maybe you don't want to create the 1/1s, but Perhaps he has a better strategy in mind.
Perhaps he never
What?
hits the gang boss. What just happened? Everything is
That's
planned.
why. He's like, yeah, I'm just not going to create any 1/1s. This 1-mana card did like a fireball's worth of damage or even more.
Oh, he goes for Savage already.
Wow. He's going ham.
That's pressuring. He's in combo range. Oh, wait.
So there's a lot of outs for, well, 2 outs in this deck for Lanchenze, and he picks up the Rock
Oh,
Biter.
man, again.
Gotta roll the
It counts
25%.
25%. If he gets a spell damage totem, and he gets it. Oh!
Unbelievable.
Karma comes back.
This is disgusting. Oh, no.
That Shaman. Jab just needed to win. He was 1 totem away from winning the match.
Yeah, you had to go all in if you're the Shaman here, so that's well played.
So sheep first and then see what happens?
Yeah, I'm not against it. Or you're forcing the entity out, then you play Doomsayer.
Oh, man.
He's doing it. Oh, goodness. Yeah, he's forcing the Doomsayer to come out. Knowing there's no chance, there's no Mare Entity here, he just gets the full clear.
That's so great.
And he triggers a duplicate on the Mad Scientist, and he triggers the Mare Entity on the Doomsayer. Something great needs to come out here. This is not the greatest of greats, but it's a 3-2. We haven't seen a Frostbolt yet.
We've seen one in the very beginning.
Okay, then I must have missed it.
In the opening hand.
What did he use it on?
All right, so Reno Jackson, we're going to be rich.
We're gonna be rich, and Jab's gonna be sad.
Oh, that's one sad job.
You know, the flashback this gets me is the Seed Story Cup JJ play. Like the first time we ever saw Reno was when JJ dropped it. You still die. Actually, wait.
He's
No,
just-
he died. He died.
He's dying.
He's dead.
He's dying, yeah.
GG.
24. Oh, man.
Reno
This
Jackson.
Reno Jackson actually punching face. Who would have known? Oh, wait, he missed the 5 damage? He miscounted.
That was a mistake.
Oh, wait.
He still has Manhandsome Mechano, right?
There isn't Handsome Mechano.
So what if he gets a buff and a Manhandsome Mechano?
He doesn't have any more buffs. He's got PO. That's about it, though. Oh.
No, that's a buff.
Oh, my God. No, that's
Wait,
only
no,
2
that's not.
damage.
It's only
though.
2
Doesn't
damage.
matter. That's a Peddler. Oh, my
Whoa!
God. Peddler. So
The
no.
dream!
No.
The Soulfire!
No!
Whoa! He gets it! Oh my
Unbelievable.
goodness! So we got a good look into some of the highlights, of course, punctuated by that Soulfire out to Dark Peddler to wrap up the day and wrap up the series, which punched Langshan's ticket into the top 4. So this is really important because to explain the bracket, we have players who are seeded directly into the quarterfinals and the semifinals for a top 6 into a top 4.
Yeah, that's right. So as you can see right now, Cipher is going to face StanCifka, and then the winner of that match is going to face Colento. The loser is eliminated. On the other hand, we have Dog and Surrender playing next, and the winner is going to face Lan Shenzhen. So this is going to be an amazing bracket and a lot of fun action. But Frona, I think Lan Shenzhen yesterday, he had so many explosive finishes. So many things happened. And we have audience
Don't let
clapping.
distract you, Nims. Don't worry.
This is purely for Lang Shenzhen, I'm sure. The ovation.
That's right. Well, we'll go ahead and talk about him more when that time comes for the semifinal number 2. But our schedule is as follows. We're going to go to quarterfinal number 1 with Cipher versus StanCifka, followed by Dog and Surrender happening right afterwards. That's going to be really fun because I think every player is really happy where they landed. You talk to Cifka and Cipher, they said that they wanted to play each other, which is interesting. I think Cipher wanted to play Cifka because he was happy with the deck matchup, and Cifka was happy to meet with Cipher because he didn't want to play Dog or Surrender based off skill. So it's kind of like a half shots fired, like, oh, Cipher is like the weakest player. So both these players apparently are very satisfied with this opponent. And then on Dog and Surrender side, Dog is really happy with his bracket, and so is Surrender because they both feel like Langshan's is the weakest player out of these 6 groups. I mean, this is really hard. Like when you get to the final 6 players, all of them are killers. But specifically, everyone feels very confident today. Like they feel like they maximize their chances in each bracket.
Doug also mentioned that he's really happy to avoid Colento. And not only because Colento is Colento, but also because the Renolock Paladin. He really don't want to play versus that deck specifically.
The Renolock Paladin is certainly from left field. But who will come out of this one? Because there's a lot of left field, or there's a lot of curveballs coming out from StanCifka as well. He's got some interesting tech choices in his Reno Warlock deck. Again, the one that sticks out to my mind is the Fell Cannon, which is a 4-mana 3/5 that deals 2 damage to a random non-mech minion. It's a lot of words.
Thank you for reminding.
A lot of words. You know, some people actually legitimately have never seen Fell Cannon.
Absolutely.
They follow Hearthstone, specifically because it's an old card and it's an unplayed card. So it's I just want to remind people. And he also has interesting choices with his Control Priest. He likes to play the Excavated Evils, right? And play super defensive.
Double
is this the kind of Control Priest that people have been waiting to pop up in the metagame? A lot of people have been saying that Control Priest is a couple of cards away from being a dominant control deck, almost to the levels of Control Warrior just a couple of months back when the meta was viable for it.
Absolutely. And we can see the bans right now. Both players banned Mage, so we're not going to see Freeze Mage from Cipher and Freeze Mage from StanCifka. And I'm half glad, Frodan, because we talked about this,
I'm sad.
Mirror matchup.
I think Freeze Mage is interesting when it's under a lot of pressure. I personally don't like to see Freeze Mage versus Control Warrior, but I like Freeze Mage versus Druid, for example, because in the instances where you do see Freeze Mage grab a win, it's always really interesting to see because they play so, on the knife's edge that it's very exciting to watch this tension. However, that said, Freeze Mage mirrors can go die in a dumpster. I personally don't really enjoy it too much.
They are a bit long. Sure.
Yeah, because it's always like, oh, he flame striked a loot hoarder. That's sick. At
least for a couple of first turns. All right, Frodan, but the game 1 is ready. We have Druid versus Warlock. And StanCifka is playing the Renolock without Stagan and Fugan, I believe. We haven't seen them before.
Kept this entire hand? Did he just do that?
Well...
Or did I because I was turning my head from one screen to the other.
Yeah, me too. Maybe he did. Doesn't make sense.
Wow. That is extremely convenient.
That's a good draw because normally you are looking for the early game.
Okay. Cipher's going to do this thing, where he's going to go through every single possible move. But a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, Cipher, why are you taking your time? And it's not because he's planning a turn 1 play. It's because he's thinking about how he's going to play his turns 2 and 3. Is he going to try to coin out something on 4? Or is he going to evaluate, like, does he want to save coin for Emperor Thorson? What are the kind of scenarios that you do it? Also, because you want to stay hydrated, your body is 60% water. He's going to make sure to liquid up here.
He also is thinking about what can Cipher do and how he will react to it. If Cipher has the wild growth, if there is wild growth, what do I do?
What? Wait.
Okay, so he kept his hand. He never played Zombie Chow. What is going on, brother?
What? Okay, this is really beyond my understanding, Nibs. I am too stupid to understand this play. Please help me.
Okay, so...
This is not what you want? Chow on turn 1 against a deck that naturally pressures you? Druid has a very good matchup against Reno Warlock because you can't stabilize the board fast enough before they threaten you with combo for multiple turns in a row. And he chooses to pass on a turn that Zombie Chow is usually the strongest.
That's probably a full cannon.
Oh, okay. So he wants to maximize Fell Cannon.
So imagine we see a Shade of Naxxramas here. But he can coin Fell Cannon and snipe Shade, just like that. If Zombie Chow is in play...
okay. I can get behind that.
That is next level.
It is really next level. Because if he did play Zombie Chow, he would have been able to kill the Azure Drake with the Fell Cannon off the Zombie Chow trade. But, all right, man. Well,
he is a bit phased, but that was probably his thinking. And we have to mention that Cipher actually landed a very good matchup because this is what you want to have. Druid is all right versus Renolock.
Yeah. So if he went for that line where he went for a Shade drop, then he would have been really far ahead, actually.
Yeah.
We've seen that Fell Cannon, when it's able to take initiative onto the board, be very, very strong. And also because he had the Pilot Shredder, and his opponent has Pilot Shredder, that Fell Cannon actually won't hit anything if he trades. In fact, it might hit his own minion that comes out of the Shredder. So this is a very interesting turn of events from Cipher. I always like watching what Cipher does because he definitely is a very creative player, both inside and outside the game.
Absolutely.
With his deck building.
I think that was an amazing gamble as well.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, I don't think it actually went the way he wanted to. Playing Chow and tapping on turn 4 is not what you want, but... I'll be damned if I couldn't see a cooler line of play here.
But overall, he is still in a very good position because he had early game, he stopped a bit of damage, and he has a great follow-up with Lothar, Thorison, Dr. Boom. He's playing Alexstrasza as well. We talked about it yesterday a bit. So he's choosing Alexstrasza instead of Jiraxis.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting tech. Not only because of the replacement for Jiraxis and you have the 15 heal or the aggressive option, but because it actually gives legitimate late game threat that you have to keep in mind. Like if you have 15 damage possibility off on the board, Alexstrasza could just win you the game or position you to win the game.
Let's talk about Cipher's kind of a bit. So he didn't get Wild Growth, he didn't have the Innervate, and right now, even though he has the board, he is missing Savage Roar. He has some damage though, so it's not a totally bad position.
It's not, but Force of Nature is always awkward on single targets unless it's a very clean kill. In Druid Mirrors, for example, Force of Nature can be used to continue your tempo by killing a Druid Claw. However, when you don't necessarily want to just use Force of Nature on turn 6, you want to develop a minion. So the priority is go develop the board and then use Force of Nature if you have nothing else. Now that's a turn 6 play that you can get behind.
That is amazing, and it suddenly makes the Force of Nature much better.
Yeah, Cipher going to hesitate because a lot of times these top decks can excite you and cloud your judgment. It's true, because you're like, well, it's turn 6, do I play Mysterious Challenger? It's turn 7, do I play the Boom that I just drew? But it's not always as clear-cut. Those kinds of scenarios might actually blind your judgment because there might be a better alternative. And several times this tournament we've seen that.
Like, look at Zombie Chow.
Yeah, exactly. Well... the irony is that it actually didn't work out the way Cipher wanted it to, at least in our opinion. But maybe he's happy with it. I'm not sure. I could be wrong.
Okay, but still, you have to deal with Torison. There is a Siphon Cell in your hand, so that's an easy fix. Is there anything better you can do?
I'm not seeing it. You have no direct removal outside the Siphon Soul.
Can you ignore Torison? I doubt it. There's too many cards, and if there's double force and Savager, maybe.
It's true. The problem with ignoring Thorison is twofold. The first is that it's a pretty strong minion, so you're taking damage. The second is that if he reduces a lot of cards that ends up threatening your combo, Reno Jackson actually might not even have that big of an impact.
And that's exactly
because you're killing the 30, but he has like a 24 damage combo with like a minion on board plus Force of Nature Savage.
Certainly.
Or something.
And that's exactly why Druid is good versus Renolock, because it can burst through you. Even though you go to full health, they can still kill you. Okay. We have Lothab, which is decent.
Decent sized minion. I don't think you want to play Big Game Hunter. You don't have a real threat to end the game.
There are too many targets.
Without Savage Roar.
Yeah.
And there are several targets, right? There's Dr. Boom, obviously, on 7.
Alexstrasza, which you know is in the deck. You've seen it yesterday.
Even if, for example, your opponent Chain, Fugue, and Stalag, but I don't think Cifka's running it based off of what we've seen from him in the past couple of days. This is a deck, by the way, that Cifka has piloted expertly, or I don't know if I'm using the right grammar here, but he's navigated through top legends very often. He hit #1 with it last month, multiple times over, where he played that leapfrog game.
He had a couple of differences in cards.
Yeah, he definitely played the Fugue and Stalag. He certainly did not play the Felkin. I remember that.
That's for sure.
Because he posted his list on social media, and I immediately net decked like the pleb I am.
But he was playing Mind Control Tech in both. Like he's playing Mind Control Tech here, and he was playing it then.
I mean, a lot of cards can come in and out of the Reno Jackson Warlock deck. Cards like Weapon Removal, the Acidic Swampoos comes to mind. You play the Acidic Swampoos because you don't really need Harrison Jones for card draw. You'd rather have efficient mana plays.
Yeah.
Because you life tap so much anyways. And then, there's other cards like if you really feel like you're dying too much to aggression, you can
sometimes
use
there's
taunts.
Farseer.
Yeah, Farseer.
Or you can play an aggressive version like Cipher with Leroy, Power of Roaming.
There's the Void Caller package as well with the Mal'Ganis and even Doom Guards and whatnot. So there's lots of variation. Personally, StanCifka seems to be the most control-oriented because he doesn't have a combo finisher. He's not running any big demon tempo swings. Instead, he's just running like raw power and Fel Cannon. So
it worked for him yesterday. We'll see if it works today versus Cipher. Because he is getting pretty low. This might be the moment where you want to live tap into Reno.
Yeah, you're coming up on 9 mana from Cipher, which, to be fair, I feel like we've been ignoring Cipher a lot of this match. But the reality is he's holding all spells, and when you have an all spells hand, you have to leverage this one minion on board. So I actually really like the line that Cipher took. He says, I don't have good minion quality. I'm not going to like trade Lotheb and hopefully just pass. I need to make sure that this 5/5 gets as much mileage as it can, because that's my only pressure. Big Game Hunter is a reactive card. It's almost like a spell, in a way.
Yeah, just a removal spell that creates a minion on board.
Yes. I mean, if Cipher, say, draws an Innervate, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him Wrath his own Lotheb if no minion gets played, because he just needs something to do.
Yeah, and his hand is a bit lackluster at the moment, so he wants to get more. You can't life tap, by the way, because you overdraw.
Yeah.
So
people might immediately look and say, like, why didn't you life tap with Reno? But he was holding 10 cards. It's a very easy mistake to do when you're not paying attention. Hey, and look at.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes I just kind of wish this happened when you play Hearthstone. You just say like, oh, you know, if this happens, then I would do this. But that's like a worst case scenario, and that was one of the worst draws he could have asked for in his deck at this point.
He can still cycle though. Wrath Reno, see what you draw.
You're so positive, Nimsh. I like it.
You have to stay positive all the time. Come on.
Because it's just like, oh, okay. Well, he's rewarded with one of the best draws in his deck.
And maybe he'll be able to play Shade after this.
Yeah, then you can use your Innervate effectively for all your mana. So if you play the Living Roots, you make yourself susceptible to AoE. And then your opponent has enough mana to develop an actual minion after that. So instead, he's just going to use Living Roots as removal. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, to protect the 5/1. Now the removal doesn't hurt. I mean, like the AoE removal doesn't hurt you that much. If you see Twisting Nether at this spot, you're probably happy about it. Because even though Twisting Nether takes care of the board, StanCifka will not play anything after this.
So Cifka has multiple plays this turn. He can play defensive with board removal, because he has a couple of AoE plus Dark Bomb. He also can feel safe because he has like a Doctor Boom. I mean, sorry, because he has heals with like the Antique Heal bot. So I also wasn't opposed to like playing very proactive on the board with like Doctor Boom.
I think that was the best. Not only you clear, but you also have a minion.
Yeah, because the thing about the clears is a lot of times your mana doesn't allow you to develop a minion, but he actually had this opportunity to develop Vel Cannon, which is a reasonable sized minion. And it demands a little bit of attention because your board will always be impacted. So it's like if you drew the Claw Charge, that Vel Cannon will just most likely trade it off and kill it easily. So you have to always keep that in mind. It's one of those things that has, you know, it doesn't directly have Taunt Nimsh, but it always has an implied taunt where you're like, if I don't deal with this thing, it'll get way too much value.
It also has 5 health, which means it's not that easy to kill. 4 should be easy for Druid. You can always deal 4. 5 might be iffy.
Yeah.
He might have to, for example, shapeshift and attack into it.
Right.
And then it's 7 mana with the Druid of the Claw, so it's not ideal.
Yeah, Druid has access to 5 damage spells like Starfire and Starfall, but those cards are generally too slow for what Druid wants to accomplish because it consumes almost your entire turn to do it. And you'd rather have more efficient AoE like Swipe, which is just bananas, you know. I actually talked to a couple of Blizzard guys, and they always think like, man, is Swipe too strong for Rodan? Because a lot of people talk about combo, they talk about Mysterious Challenger, but Swipe is, for 4 mana, can clear the entire board. You know, Hellfire can do that too, but you also have drawbacks to damaging your own minions.
It feels like it's really strong.
Yeah.
And how do you design a card which is comparable to Swipe, that you will actually play instead of Swipe?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's worth discussing. I don't think, personally, Swipe's too broken, but it definitely is an amazing card.
With Azure Drake.
With ridiculous value, too, because people always they make jokes. If you played Hearthstone from the very beginning of beta, you knew when you can use Wrath and Starfall to the face. You could actually hit the opponent and Wrath the face for 1 if you were, you know, desperate.
The Moonkin Druid build.
Sure, people would love the Jungle Moonkin.
Druid was a better mage. Literally.
Kind of, yeah. Or, you know, like, basically Freeze Mage was like Freeze Druid in a way. But, you know, ever since then, people joke like, oh, wait, you should just Wrath face for lethal when you can't do it anymore. You can actually swipe face for lethal still, right? That's kind of the joke about it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Card is really good.
Wow, Cipher foregoing complete development of a big threat like Emperor Thorson or Dr. Boom to remove the Druid of the Claw. He does not want to take any damage. This is how much he's prioritizing his life total, even though he has Antique Healbot in his hand, which is really interesting because he's also making reads that Cipher had awkward turns, and he's only playing cards from the right side of his hand. And the reason why I say this is because Cipher is extremely observant. I've actually sat down next to him prior to the series and watch how he takes notes, and he does this stuff. Like, what cards is he playing? How many cards has Emperor Thorson hit on? How much mana can he squeeze in for a full combo turn?
It gives you an immense advantage. Whenever you can get information from your opponents, you take it. And in other card games, you always observe what people do with their cards in their hands.
It's true.
That's why Kibler is the one who's shuffling all the time. He's known for that.
Yeah, if people had an option to shuffle cards in Hearthstone, they would absolutely take that advantage because you mess with a lot of their ability to track cards unless, there's some amazing power to keep track of how the cards shuffle. What? Twisting Nether on a 4/4. This is how defensive Cipher is playing. He says,
I can easily explain this.
Yeah.
We've seen Torison, and we see double Force and Savager in the hand. Cipher is playing around double Savager Force at the moment.
Yeah.
So potentially 22 damage with Druid of the Claw, that's 28.
Well, the way he's thinking about it, too, is that he not only is he preserving his life total, but when is he going to have a chance to play Twisting Nether ever if he's going to be playing his own threats on the board? He's going to be giving up his Alex draws. He's going to be giving up his Boom. So I actually don't mind that play at all, considering that he got to squeeze in a life tap at the same time.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if he doesn't take risks, he might have no opportunity to develop the board ever. At some point, he will have to risk it, that there's no combo.
And Cipher's made a perfect read on Cipher, who unfortunately is just drawing so awkwardly. He had that Ancient of Lore, but because it got dealt with, he's just got spells. It's like you said, you made a comparison to Freeze Mage, but it feels a lot like it, where you have this situation where you just want to burn your opponent to death, but if your opponent's out of that range, you're powerless.
But can Cipher get out of range? If Cipher assumes that there is double Savage or Force of Nature, he's just dead.
Yeah. Yeah, if he had double Force of Nature Savage Roar, he would have died last turn. Because he was at 18, I believe. So he would have just played Force of Nature Savage Roar twice, and that would have been the game. So Cipher says, okay, you don't have Force of Nature to Savage Roar. You definitely have some kind of combo, though.
One combo for sure.
Yeah. Because he's played Innervate, and so you've excused it. Usually Innervate's dead in the late stages of the game, but he's used it. So he's like, okay, it's probably not that.
Oh man, this is such a tricky situation. You probably force the face.
I mean, Reno Jackson has been used.
Yeah.
So maybe you feel comfortable enough to go for Force of Nature to the face?
You've seen Healbot, you've seen Cypher Soul, you've seen Reno Jackson. You know there's a possible Extraza.
Yeah,
is
I
there
like
a
it.
Farce here?
I mean, Cypher's playing to his hand right now. He says, this is my biggest strength. Oh, he's playing a board clear game.
Yeah, but still doing some damage to the face. You want to put Cipher in range.
Fair enough. And he does put him in range. Actually, this is really smart. He clears a minion, and he's still within range in case of a Farseer.
Oh, wait, is that enough?
No, it's not enough.
It's 19.
It's 19, which means he still dies to combo.
Oh, man.
Rank 25 audience. JK. Well, we've made really big mistakes this weekend, too. So he's still dead. He can tap into a Belcher. He also can Shadow Flame his minion if he wants to.
Does he play Argus? There was one Sun Fury used already, right? Yeah, he used Sun Fury before.
Here's another thing, too. If Cipher Shadow Flames and plays Emperor, he still dies because of Force of Nature Savage Roar being reduced. So Cipher definitely will consider Shadow Flaming here. I'm not sure what is a better target. Probably the 2/4 because you want to keep the 3/5 for better minions.
If he Shadow Flames...
Oh, he's going to silence. Oh, I like that. Okay, I didn't consider using the Owl and Shadow Flaming the Owl. That's really clever.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I was like, why not keep both?
So is there anything now? Cipher needs to deal. Cipher is just escaping him.
He's blue balled so hard. He wants to kill him.
Oh,
that's a 16 damage combo.
60 damage combo. But how do you get there?
Yeah, and Living Roots being played as 1/1 just makes Imgang boss get value.
So you probably just have to keep. Oh, maybe you can just go face. 3 damage to face.
Oh, yeah, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, that's perfect.
As well.
So basically 4 damage to face this turn. Put him
He's
in
like, you
range
can't
again.
escape me forever. And, you know, with Force of Nature being reduced to 5, like, the 15 is the magical number.
Yeah.
Because Cipher, if he use Alex, or in this case, he doesn't do anything.
That was perfect. So he needs to tap into something.
He needs a Taunt Giver, like Sun Fury or Defender of Argus, or he just needs a Sludge Belcher. Or he has a Farseer, which would be really useful, too. There's a lot of outs.
Yeah, there is a couple of outs. There's a couple of outs, but he just has to tap. And how?
If you look at the visual representation of the deck remaining, there actually is a high chance he taps into something really useful here.
But on the other hand, we've seen a game yesterday when he was trying to get the Reno for a full game, and he didn't get it. So Hellfire is not it.
And I think that might be it.
That might be it.
I don't foresee a way from the kills opponent, and I think Cipher realizes, you know, he's he can't do anything. He's just like, I tried.
So I did my best with the deck.
You tried, Cipher. You tried. But this is what Druid excels at, and this is why this matchup is extremely difficult for Reno. A lot of things went pretty good for Cipher, right? He was able to seize mid-game board control and then not take too much damage.
You can make an argument that he was maybe too passive. He was playing around the big combo from mid-game instead of just trying to take the game.
Take the initiative, right?
Yeah. All right, so Cipher takes game number 1 patiently. That Living Roots was really helpful. Because it was so close, actually. If not for Living Roots, if Stan would just continue building up minions without Extraza, he could have just sealed the game.
I mean, if there's any consolation prize, he played, based off his line, he played that almost perfectly. Like,
yeah.
He's making reads that were very strong. He says you have to be holding all spells, keeping track of the hands. And also, like, the fact that he knows his opponent probably has 15 damage was the Force Nature Saboteur. So he was playing extremely astutely. I liked a lot of Cipher's decisions after turn 1. Turn 1 is, of course, still debatable. I mean...
It is debatable because he missed.
Right.
Imagine hitting.
If he hits, he looks like a genius.
Absolutely.
And
it took some time to actually figure out what he was thinking.
Instead, it ends up making him look a little bit silly, but... You know what is one of the golden rules of Hearthstone that people always throw at new players? It's if you have a bad matchup, you have to take some risks. You can't just play by the book.
That's the golden rule.
Every single one. That's one of the golden rules.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say never keep eye contact while eating a banana during the match. That's the other one.
And if you do, make sure you at least finish the banana slowly. But you know, that's one of the unwritten rules. You know, we call that the bro code. With this rule that specifically I mentioned, a lot of people hit a wall in Hearthstone. They're like, well, how do I climb from rank 9 to 5, or even from 5 to legend? And a lot of the times, it's because of this thing. If you don't play to the 5% of the time, this might work out, or even less. And that gives you an edge in a matchup that you probably won't win most of the time. You might have to take those risks to get an edge.
High risk, high reward plays. And I love the style. But game 2 is ready. Cipher versus StanCifka. Renolock, this time on Cipher side. And this is a bit of a different version with PO. We see it already. Leroy and Faceless.
So Leroy Jenkins, power overwhelming. Oh man, I was gonna start the whole copy pasta right there. I was like, so Leroy Jenkins creates a strategy where you just want to life tap a ton and draw the power overwhelming with the Faceless combination.
Drop Torison.
Yes.
Torison is essential to be able to play all the cards in one turn.
What makes this really amazing these days is the deck has astounding flexibility with Reno Jackson being able to heal you up, with a diversified amount of threats that you can keep placing, not just Dr. Boom, but Fugue and Stalag. Oh no, you usually replace it, excuse me. Those are always the first threats I always think of. But you still have like a Twilight Drake, you still have a Molten Giant, etc.
Belcher, possibly. You have Jaraxxus, or Alexstrasza, depends. You have a lot of removal cards like Hellfire.
So you're not completely dependent on the Leroy Jenkins. Yeah. Also, there is that criticism that people say was like, well, how do you get it consistent if everything's a one-of? You have cards like Dark Peddler that might even give you another Power Overwhelming, an Abusive Sergeant, something to help give you some impromptu decision-making that accentuates your damage.
And even though you have one-offs, you still have, let's say, sets of cards. So for removal, you have Shadow Flame, Demon Wrath, Hellfire. So you have 3 removal cards you can get as an AoE card. You have a couple of 5-drops, a couple of 4-drops. So there's always something you can get a specific turn.
And here's the really annoying thing if you're the Priest player, which Cipher is dialed in, very acutely, I imagine. You actually don't kill the Warlock. Like, you sit here and you heal your minions, and your opponent clears your board and heals himself back up to full. He's going to need this Thought Steal to pull up something really big here.
That's not the best.
It's not the best, but you know what it is? It's Burst, and we've also seen some Dark Peddler into Soulfire shenanigans
RPO even.
against Cipher. I'm feeling like maybe there's some karma coming down the road here, where maybe Cipher can grab something extremely useful off the Dark Peddler.
So let's identify the beatdown. Cipher is the one who's going to win by damage, or do you think he's going to drag the game?
The beatdown, the Priest wants to be the beatdown. Unfortunately, it's not a class well equipped to do it all the time. And in most scenarios, you're actually just reacting to like the Twilight Drake, you're reacting to, the Fell Cannon, I guess.
That's not the best. Twilight
Whelp
is funny, actually.
Your opponent has... Okay, well, I was going to say, your opponent has a lot of high mana cost minions, so Gadget Sand Jouster is not going to usually win the joust, unless your opponent pulls an Owl.
Nope.
He actually got a good case scenario and just still lost the joust.
Unfortunately for him.
Yeah, but the difference between that and Hunger Crab was the same. And of course, you don't really have dragons, so how are you going to benefit off of Twilight Whelp?
All right, so Priest will try to win before Reno, and if it fails, he'll try to drag the game and not lose.
Yeah.
But normally, this plan might have worked, but Cipher has that combo, he has the Leroy, and he will have time to draw everything he wants.
I mean, Priest has a really hard time beating these kinds of Warlocks, really passive, like ramp up to their big threats as the game goes on. Oh my goodness, second power overwhelming. Does he pick that?
I think you do.
I mean, Corruption is removal as well. Like, a lot of people don't immediately look at that and say, well, Corruption's a great card, because it's generally not. But in some scenarios, Priest is not going to threaten you with Burst, so if he plays a Cabal Shadow Priest, for example, you just tap Corruption onto it, he'll die eventually.
I think that second PO is really important because it boosts the overall damage of the combo to 28.
Yep. Assuming you can get all those costs reduced with Emperor Thorson, which he will.
Let me change your mind.
Like, you don't even need to reduce cost of everything, right? Like, you're happy with double PO. If you pick up one more combo piece and Thorson, you're good.
If you pick up, I mean, you don't need to pick up one more combo piece. As long as these POs go for 0, Leroy and Faces is 10 mana, so you have the full combination there.
Well, actually,
but
Leroy got nerfed. It's now 6 mana.
Nice meme.
Okay, it's not.
Yeah. Taking a look at Cipher's hand here, he's got a lot of options of how he wants to break this down. He can play Sylvanas to introduce complicated board state and force a lot of trades into Sylvanas. He also can play defensive and maximize the value off of his Loatheb by playing the Sludge Belcher and introducing complicated trades for the Priest. Your opponent on 7 mana, Priest is not really known for doing anything special on 7 mana. The big power swings are on 6 with Light Bomb, Cabal Shadow Priest, 8 with Shrinkmeister Cabals, and crazy stuff like that. And then, of course, you have to account for Entombs, how that interacts with the board. What's interesting is that Control Priest is actually shrinking in the curve. Even though it has some of the most strongest late-game potential of any deck, it tops out at 6 mana these days. Before, it would top out with Mind Control or something else.
Sometimes you play Ysera. I mean, you do not play it now that often.
But now the most expensive card is Cabal Shadow Priest or Entomb. It's very interesting.
This is a nice play of Shadow Madness.
Yeah,
you're getting the 1/2, healing yourself a bit. But Entomb, a card that's new from the new adventure mode.
Yeah.
How much does it influence this matchup?
I mean, it's great against Sylvanas. That was the big thing that I know Zedalot and a few other notable Priest players were saying. Entomb is not just for the Tyrians that people immediately look at. It's because Sylvanas usually is a hard thing for Priest to deal with. You don't have access to silences in your deck. You don't play the silence card, nor do you play Spellbreaker or Owl. So how do you actually effectively take it out? And Entomb is one of those cards.
Also, I'm thinking about this Deathlord, and if Deathlord,
Dreadlords.
if Deathlord takes Leroy,
Oh
That
my
would
goodness.
That'd
be
pretty
huge. Or Jiraxis.
Yeah, but Leroy that just shuts down the combo.
No, because yeah, it's true. It shuts down the combo. But I'm saying if he takes Jiraxis out, which, okay, he's going to Entomb Boom, which is completely reasonable. He doesn't have Shadow Word Death. But if he was able to like Entomb Jiraxis and then use it or something, it would be awesome. But you're right. He would just die to a Leroy combo anyways.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that's also I want to make some commentary on is StanCifka's choice to split the Thoughtsteal into Deathlord. A lot of times, Control Priest is in this very awkward situation in the metagame where it has to build very skewed towards either killing aggro or killing control. And a lot of times, those decisions end up punishing you. This is actually the biggest reason why people criticize Priest, because if you play Deathlords and you play against Control Warrior, or in this case, Reno Warlock, you die. But if you play Thoughtsteals and then you run into an aggro shaman like Lang Shangzi, you lose as well. So this is a very cool thing that Cifka's saying, I'm playing one Thoughtsteal, one Deathlord.
Oh, wow. That second Entomb is perfect to get Sylvanas.
That is primarily how you deal with it, so he
And he can even draw a card here. With Northshire.
Oh yeah, you can draw a card with Northshire. And draw the Entombed Minion. Why not?
Yeah. Oh man, I just want to see the Leroy from this Deathlord. Alright, so he decides not to draw a card here yet.
That is curious because Priest wants to draw cards to have the most options available to it. You have like a third of your deck is dedicated just to removal. So if you want to effectively use your removal spells in the most efficient way possible, like Lion Shadow or Death against a target that you want to snipe and not entomb, but if you have to entomb when you want a death, it's always like a really awkward spot where you're like, well, do I actually want to death something else later that I want to entomb anyways?
So why would he not play Northshire Cleric then?
The first would be that he's trying to go for a big reload, like
play both
of them and then like heal a ton. The second could be that he wants to bait his opponent to remove a bunch of stuff and then like use removal like Circle of Healing, which would kill his own clerics. However, his opponent didn't have a board, so it is interesting. It's one of those questions that I'll have to ask Cifka later, because it is when he makes these plays, he spends a lot of time thinking. It's not just an autopilot like, you know, I just like did whatever.
Yeah, that's really curious.
I think it could be that he has Pyromancer in his hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, possibly. Like he was thinking about Pyromancer or other kinds of AoE clears. That's why he didn't want to have Cleric on board at the time.
Only one Cleric as well, so he's being very conservative. And, you know, with Acolytes in his deck, something I forgot, we haven't seen the Injured Blade Master yet. And that's another card that's reasonably sized that helps you gain some pretty big tempo. Even some card advantage with drawing with the Northshire Cleric.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it mostly works with Circle of Healing. And you might want to use Circle of Healing for removal only.
Okay.
So maybe StanCifka found that Injured Blade Master doesn't fit his playstyle.
I mean, he might go for a Light Bomb, and then he can draw 4 cards with this. He will kill the Defender of Argus and then Circle.
2 Clerics, he's healing 3 minions.
If he did this, he draws 6 cards.
6 cards.
Okay. So he's drawing only 4 cards. But here's a very easy thing to mess up. If you play Circle of Healing, you actually can't kill the Argus anymore because that also heals with 2/3.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely some Priest players have made that mistake in the past.
On the other hand, you probably don't want to draw that many cards. Like, you don't want to heal Argus at the time.
It's true.
Not only you can't kill it, but too many cards and you can overdraw.
Huh, a second Deathlord. You know, I really thought Cifka split, like 1 Thoughtsteal, 1 Deathlord, but he's playing 2 Deathlords and
no Blade Masters,
2 Acolytes.
Have we seen any cultists?
No, and we also see Shadow Madness. So he's really made some interesting tweaks to this Priest deck. Not to mention that we've also mentioned that he's inserted an Excavated Evil, the new League of Explorers card.
Have we seen 2 of them?
3 damage to everything on the board.
Have we seen 2 of them or 1? We've seen 1 for sure.
I recall seeing 1. I mean, how does he fit all those cards in his deck?
Well, he did cut Injured Blade Master. He did cut Cultist.
He still has cards like Flash Heals and Light of the Naru in his deck, too, for the possible burst finish against the Reno Warlock. So
it's a new
he's
take.
got a lot.
It's absolutely a new take on the Contra Priest.
I have to imagine he's not playing Museum Curator, which is a card that a lot of people have fallen in love with because it gives you a lot of late game value. Whoa! Speaking of late game value, Dr. Boom comes into the hand here. This is the one that's entombed from Cipher. He didn't put this in his deck, so as far as I know, the highest top of his curve is still a 6-mana minion.
So this is the Entomb Boom. I like what Stan is doing here. I like how he's super patient about this. Oh wow, the second Entomb target.
Yeah.
But he's really patient. He's trying to build up the board to finish the game in one burst, and keeping that Hellfire as well as a burst card.
Chooses to Power Word Shield, but again, another question is like, how much do you want to protect this Death Lord? There's that Excavated Evil we mentioned, which most likely won't see any real utility because Priest is the one that wants to build the board here against the Reno Warlock.
Well, it's a good combat card, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're losing the board, it's fine.
Now, again, I kind of realize I've been talking almost exclusively about Cipher because I think the Priest deck is fascinating here. But, you know, in reality, Cipher, again, is a victim of having almost all reactive spells with Reno Jackson being kind of like a Tree of Life equivalent. Like, it's just used to heal yourself. It's not really the 4/6 tempo you're looking for. And again, he's not really drawing proactive threats.
He is looking for that Torison, and he is looking for Leroy to protect it from Death Lord.
Every threat he's drawn has just been stolen by the Priest. Gimme, gimme.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is why Priest is still one of the most complained about classes. Even though its power level has still relatively been in the bottom, you know, the bottom third of the 9 classes, people still really hate playing
It's not
Priest. Come on, like the God play
it's
like
not Rafam.
Boom.
It's the Priest.
Yeah.
Have you tried playing Priest versus Rafam? It's like, oh, I like
do you
your
mean
deck.
the adventure?
Yeah, in the
Oh,
adventure
yeah.
mode. He's like, oh, I like your deck.
I'll
I'm going to take it. And then if you play
I'll
Priest,
take
it's like,
it.
but I really like my deck. I will take it back.
Gotcha. I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, can you even tap? Just how many cards does he have? He's got 9, it looks like.
I think you do tap, yeah.
So he can Dark Bomb. I guess he can just Dark Bomb the Pyromancer.
I think you might want to...
He's twisting Nether.
And he's going to get a minion. Is that Torison? Whoa! That is a Torison! That is huge. And this is exactly what he wanted. If that would be Leroy, that would be so bad.
I mean, the theory is Thorison's going to get dealt with, but it's just the way it happened on a full hand.
It doesn't matter that it's going to die. The thing that matters is that right now he has double PO, abusive, Dark Bomb.
That's a full 32 damage
so
combo.
much damage.
You die at full health as a Priest. He's going to be completely reliant on like a Death Lord or a Sludge Belcher to save him now.
But there is the silence as well.
True, so he's going to be reliant on...
on getting Leroy.
On
from
just
Death Lord.
not dying. Or okay, so he's now... His game plan is going to be changing to kill his opponent. It's no longer like, I'm just going to build board and take it slow. It's like, you probably have to figure out a way to finish your opponent in the next 2 or 3 turns, if you can.
How much damage is there? There's 13 points of damage. If there's Leroy, that's 19, so not there yet, but really close.
He has Leroy in hand? I can't see it.
No Leroy yet. No Leroy yet. But like if he draws Leroy, I feel if that's lethal or not.
I mean, he's got so much burst, even if he just gets 1 minion on the board.
Yeah.
2 Power Overwhelmings plus a Abusive Sergeant and a Dark Bomb is 13 additional damage already.
Twilight seems really good with maybe a Siphon Soul, because at this point you just wait. You're fine. It's not like Priest is going to burst you down. You still have Reno.
Well, he has Flash Heal. Something that you can't underestimate.
That's why you want to kill the Soul Priest.
Zetalot got #1 legend 2 months? No, one month ago? I can't remember exactly, but it was towards the middle of December season. And he was doing it with Flash Heals and surprising a bunch of Reno Warlocks.
I did play his version a bit, and it was really fun to play. Because you control the board on one side, on the other side you have this tool. Oh wow, it's Circle Feeling.
Well, does it really do anything here? Oh,
you have
use it on
excavated
Sylvanas to steal something. No, I think that's too fancy, maybe.
What about Excavated Evil as well? Can you clear?
Evil would...
So you can attack into the 410, then you can circle and Evil to clear the board. But do you even need to do it?
Oh, huh. That's interesting.
Was Cipher playing Shrinkmeister? I think he was actually playing Shrinkmeister.
I don't remember seeing it. That could be also another cut from his list. He's had to make sacrifices somewhere.
Doug was playing Shrinkmeister.
Yeah.
All right, so
he's had to make sacrifices somewhere. So he's going to go for this board clear then? Nope. With that hero power, looks like he's going to instead play something else. He's got enough mana to play Dr. Boom here.
Yeah, Dr. Boom is okay, but on the other hand, you do lose tempo if there's a big hunter.
Okay. So now he's going to take this opportunity to develop Acolyte behind it.
If he gets Leroy, that's 1923, so not there yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have the face of Manipulator. Man, Cipher is so far away from the combo. He needs to life tap into one piece now and make sure that he can still control the state of the board. But thankfully for him, Priest is still not really threatening anything. There it is, Leroy Jenkins.
That's 19 points of damage and 4 damage from the minion, so it's 23. And you actually have mana to do everything. But you don't go for it yet.
No, certainly not. You're asking to get punished, and then Face Manipulator is just a board control tool.
Can you Siphon Soul and play a minion? Not really, not yet.
Well, Shredder is also okay here. And you know what? I think you can part ways with just like the Abusive Sergeant. I don't know if you're really looking to guarantee 30 damage kill your opponent. Because the thing is, you know your opponent's going to have like Dr. Boom and stuff, so... Oh, he has Big Game Hunter. Okay, so he can deal with Boom that way.
Yeah.
I just want to be really cautious not to overuse my removal, and then all of a sudden your opponent takes initiative and you can't do anything.
What do you think about using Owl here? You're not expecting more taunts. You've seen one Death Lord, you've seen Sludge Belcher. Well, we know there is another Death Lord.
Well, I think Cifka, with that Owl, it's a very natural response, because you're like, well, I don't want you to draw cards. But that also might throw him off, you know, like maybe he feels safer than he actually is. Is this time to develop Boom? It might be.
If you play Boom, you kill the Owl and you heal yourself to 29.
Yep. When are you going to play Boom? As time goes on, it gets clunkier, because you're going to be drawing more cards that you want to be playing out of your hand.
What about Cabal though? The problem with Boom is that it just dies to Big Game Hunter. And if you play Cabal, it might stick.
That is true. And you know that your opponent has a Hellfire and a Peddler still in the deck, because you thought stole them. And he hasn't used the Hellfire yet, so if you play Boom, maybe he just Hellfires. So ends up using Excavated Evil to clear instead.
You know when you play Boom? You play Boom when you hit Fatigue. Basically, you wait till the last very moment.
All right, Faceless Manipulator would end the game here.
And it does.
Wait.
Or no, it's 1-0.
Yeah, no. He's got it. He's got it.
He's got it?
He's got the full damage. Here we go.
Oh, wow. 32
damage.
What? Oh, my God. Cipher on the back of the combo. He was waiting. He was patient, and he gets it in the end.
Let's see Cifka smile after this one. Because that one is one hell of a pill to swallow.
And this is also so important because he's taking advantage 2-0 versus Cifka. He just needs to win one more game to take the match and eliminate Stun from the tournament.
This is why Cipher felt really confident. He says, my deck matchup is really good against StanCifka. I feel extremely confident that I'm favored going in. And, you know, I can't argue with him.
Especially now with Secret Paladin being his last deck.
Secret Paladin has a really high chance to succeed, although it's been having middling results, to say the least, in this tournament. It hasn't exactly been the smoothest road to victory for Uther here. He's had some matchups where like he's playing against aggressive Shaman and he just gets overwhelmed. Or in that case, like yesterday, Cifka destroyed a Secret Paladin with his Priest list.
Can he destroy it 3 times, though? That's the big question.
We'll see. Priest against Paladin, definitely winnable. In fact, that's what he's first queuing up. Zombie Chow to start things off is huge. And cards like Entomb are great, but ultimately what gives the Paladin fits is cards like Excavated Evil. It's not that you keep it. You want to just have the continuous board clears. And when Paladin doesn't have any board to actually work with, you find out that they are pitiful. In fact, like competitive spirit lands like a +1/+1 on a token. You're like, oh god.
Yeah, but on the other hand, as a Paladin, you have a lot of cards to sustain the board. You have the shielded mini bot with shields, Pilot Shredder, and if you curve out, you might actually kill the priest.
Man.
Yeah, that Death Lord.
Death Lord is the Paladin killer. Like
unless Tyrion.
Yes, you're right. If it pulls out Tyrion. But the thing is, do you expect Death Lord to die? Because I don't. How is he going to kill Death Lord? He's got Flash Heal and Circle of Healing. That thing's never dying.
Shredder into Millhouse Manastorm.
Even then.
Yeah, even then
it needs
hard.
a little bit of juice. He needs a Blessing of Kings in order to surprise it.
So it's a perfect tool to buy time as Stanislav.
Okay, now you know that it's not Repentance. That's the only way that you're like, oh gosh. But you know it's not because you've played the Zombie Chow after the Secret was played. So you know it's not Noble Sacrifice. It's either Competitive Spirit, Avenge, or Redemption.
Yeah, but he's thinking if he still has time. Maybe just healing Zombie Chow is the move here. If you coin Death Lord, you protect Zombie Chow, supposedly. There can always be a Knife Juggler into something small.
Yes, I like the coin Death Lord specifically to protect the Zombie Chow from Muster for Battle. If he has Muster for Battle and he kills your Zombie Chow, you lose a lot of initiative onto the board of how to use your hero power. And Priest needs initiative with minions in order to have impact with its hero power.
Yeah.
If Priest has minions on the board, its hero power is actually kind of broken. But you know, it's balanced by the fact that it doesn't always have minions on the board and that people are aware of removing all the time.
I absolutely agree. And looking at Cypher's hand, I'm really thinking about a possible concede.
Yeah.
Can you just concede?
The possible concede?
Can you just concede this and move to a normal matchup?
It's definitely something to consider if your name is Reynad or Tides of Time, but I don't know if you want to do it on this platform. So, you know, now that Cifka's seen 3, is this C3 Seekers? No, it's only 2, because he didn't play Competitive Spirit. Perfectly good choice, because Competitive Spirit won't get much value. I really wonder if Cifka feels confident enough to just Thought Steal, or is he just going to really, like, heal? Because, again, you don't want the Death Lord to get surprised by something stupid like a Blessing of Kings, and then you lose the Death Lord to it.
Well, if there is an Avenge, you can still deal with it, I guess. Depends when it lands. 5/4. So you can't kill it with Pyromancer, so you might just end up healing Zombie Chow and healing the 1/1. There is a good chance that you will be able to use the Flash Heal to heal your Death Lord after this.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it's getting to the points where even on average, that minion Death Lord should be pulling out somewhere like, you know, the Haunted Creepers, the Secret Keepers, and, you know, hopefully he doesn't pull out the Dr. Boom
or Tyrion.
Or Tyrion.
Or
but even Boom by itself, I mean, it's a 7/7. You have access to cards like Shadow Word Death. Might be reasonable. That's a really big card to draw. Oh my goodness. The North Shard Cleric gives Priest, again, options to pick the optimal removal in the right situation.
Yeah, for the specific turns. Until turn 7 or 8, he just needs to make the best plays possible to stop the Paladin.
Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. He can Flash Heal first if he wants to, but he's going to Circle of Healing to draw the most cards. That makes the most sense. Plus, it's 0 mana, so you have a lot more flexibility if you pick up Shadow Word Death.
All right, so 3 cards for StanCifka here. Alkanai is really interesting.
It is.
That's great removal.
It is great removal.
It's a great minion on board as well.
But I'm almost certain that he's going to Flash Heal his minion right afterwards.
Death Lord, yeah.
Because he's shown that he doesn't have like a Blessing of Kings or a Truce Over Champion, so it's still complicated to remove this Death Lord. And look at how many cards Cifka has.
Oh man, there is a Ragnaros.
I feel like Cypher's been drawing really bad this series. I know he's up 2-0, and people are like, well, how is he drawing bad? He's beating StanCifka, one of the best players in the world. And the first is that, you know,
well, drawing Ragnaros
chill
is
out,
bad.
chill out. But the second is that he's had really good deck matchups.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And Draining Ragnaros is bad in 2 ways. Not only you can't play it now, but also Death Lord will not pick it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh yeah, Ragnaros would have been really annoying early game if he was pulling it out, and then Priest just keeps taking 8 to the dome.
So what do you even do? Do you play those secrets? the attack into Deathlord. You know Deathlord is going to get healed again. And this is as you said, Froden. Deathlord cannot die. It just stands
I'm telling
there.
you, man. It's kind of an ironic. It's kind of an ironic name for the card in this matchup. It doesn't really die.
Life Lord?
Windlord.
Windlord. In World of Warcraft, the card was called Stonewall Jackson.
Stonewall Jackson.
Stonewall Jackson.
After the general in American history.
And that was actually the character
cute.
my friend was playing in WoW TCG as well.
This is a pretty cute play. You can use Flash Heal to destroy instead of heal with the Auchenized Soul Priest. And it ends up being very convenient. You have a 2 health minion, can pop. And now, I mean, Mysterious Challenger can come out, but StanCifka can have his cake and eat it too. He can remove it while pushing board tempo. So, I mean, this is such a good spot for Cifka. Almost as good as it gets, honestly.
He can do whatever he wants. He
can
even entomb this.
Well,
for fun.
Yeah, I guess he could.
You probably keep it for Tyrion, though.
The thing is, like, entombing challengers, like, what if he booms? Do you have a plan? I guess you do have a plan afterwards. You just have to make sure that you don't overextend by, like, getting too careless, like, I entomb, and then I need it for something else, and something else gets insane value. But the nice thing is that you can pop all secrets, have the Avenge land, or do something else, and then entomb the final card.
Yeah. And still, Cipher doesn't really have turn 7. He has that Belcher, that's something.
Yeah, definitely.
But he doesn't have draw. Have we seen Divine Favor in his deck before?
Not as far as I remember, because Cipher has cards like Ragnaros in his deck, and he's made some interesting techs as well. Like
sometimes you can play 1.
Right. Well, I mean, 2 Divine Favors is certainly a luxury in most decks. I don't know if you play 2. I mean, people are debating if you even put 1 in the deck.
In Aggro Paladin, you play 2. But
yeah, it's the best card in Aggro
Secret,
Paladin.
yeah.
And that is not the card Cypher's looking for.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. I feel really bad, because I think this is the 3rd game in a row he's drawn pretty badly. But, you know, he's making the best of it. He's still up 2-0. And even if you lose this matchup, you weren't very optimistic. Cifka brought this Priest deck specifically with Paladin in mind to shut it down. I mean, sometimes you bring, you know, the water buckets to put out the fire, but sometimes you just get the fire truck with the 8-gallon hose or whatever they call it. And Cifka called down Poseidon to put down the fire of Secret Paladin. That's what he did.
That's why I was considering concede on turn 2.
Yeah, it was a viable play, right? And that's why sometimes it's justified. Save yourself the tilt.
All right, so Stanislav just going through the motions here.
The really funny thing, and I do think it's funny. I know some people might disagree with me, but the really funny thing is Cifka isn't like trying to drag this out to like tilt Cipher or make him exhausted. It's like Priest legitimately can't finish the game. It's just like, this is what I do. I'm stalling the game and just building my card advantage. It's not like he's BMing Cipher in some elaborate 16-turn strategy. It's like, this is actually what I'm forced to deal with.
So Cypher's mindset is like, please kill me now. And Stanislav is like, dude, I'm trying, right?
Yeah, it's like, you have to leave. Cipher. He just concedes. Yeah, it's over.
You can't do anything. All right, so Cipher drops first game. StanCifka still alive. StanCifka still has his own Secret Paladin, which is a coin flip versus Secret Paladin. And the last deck is the Renolock. So he still has the chance to win the series.
Oh, you always have a chance. That's what card games are. I mean, people chalk it up to Hearthstone, but specifically in card games, the whole point of it is that you always have a chance.
But the chances differ. Like if you go with Freeze Mage versus Contra Warrior.
Yeah, it's unlikely. I mean, let's say Cifka is even favored to win 60-40 with the 3 matchups against Secret Paladin. Let's say hypothetically he is. That still means he has, what, 15? Like somewhere around like 13 to 17% chance to win the series, like in just sheer probability in terms of you win. Unlikely. So Cipher's in a really good spot. However, it's not always that simple, right? There's always the human element. If Cifka misplays, which he did yesterday with missing lethal directly with the 2 fireballs on the Freeze Mage, it is possible that you can mess up. So that's where it all comes down to this element of anything can happen. Anything can happen.
And that's why it's interesting to watch.
As well as, the element of human execution.
Absolutely.
I agree, Nimsh. I agree.
All right. So let's see who is the better Paladin.
At least for this game. So taking a look at the hand, Cipher is on the coin, which gives him leverage with Muster for Battle. Depending on how he chooses to do this, Redemption is probably one of the weakest secrets you can ask for early on. Even Competitive Spirit could have synergy with the Muster for Battle.
Yeah, Redemption doesn't do much. Even Noble Sacrifice is a bit better because maybe you can protect the minion.
I mean, Redemption does synergize with the Shield Mini Bot, which is good. But a lot of the times, your opponent, if you get the initiative, your opponent is going to not oftentimes clear that like before you have to hero power. So you're like, it's very awkward because sometimes you're like stuck in this position where you don't want a hero power because Redemption doesn't give you anything else except for a 1/1. But sometimes you have to hero power because otherwise you fall too far behind on board.
There's also the mind game value because if you have a secret and you play the hero power, your opponent might assume like, hey, it's Avenge for sure. There's no way it's Redemption.
Oh, I misspoke. Repentance is definitely the worst secret to have on turn 1 in this matchup.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know, we're not in a buyer's market here. You have to basically use what you have.
So, looking at the hands overall, Cipher has a very good Belcher on 5, he has Keeper on 4, and Mystery Challenger on 6, not to mention another Master for Battle. I think he's in a really good spot overall. StanCifka, even though he has Belcher and Coghammer, he'll have to take this board like super early.
That's right. A few things stand out to me already. The first is that Cifka's on coin and he saved the coin, meaning that if he picks up the Mysterious Challenger, he can hit it before his opponent. But he doesn't have the Mysterious Challenger, and his board until then is going to be in a very weird state on turn 4. He might have to use a coin then. And if he does, then Cipher gets the Mysterious Challenger, and he might have a board initiative, which could just snowball into a win the following 2 turns.
Oh, wow, there's Juggler.
Now, I mean, the Muster for Battle means that you're going to get a 1/1 back with the token. Because your opponent knows it's not Noble Sacrifice, and it's not.
Yeah, I think you keep Master for Juggler on turn 4, and
you like Coghammer?
Yeah, you play Coghammer this turn.
Okay, so that forces a Redemption onto the mini bot. I don't mind that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Also, because you have a follow up with Sludge Belcher on 5.
Yeah, you do use your coin, but you also gain pretty commanding board control with the Unleash the dudes, right? That's kind of what it is. Knife Juggler plus Unleash the Hounds was the always dreaded combo on turn 5. But you know, when you point out that play, Nimsh, I think it's excellent. I like his Coghammer.
So Coghammer seems really nice right now, but Cipher, he does have that Keeper of Uldaman, but then Redemption will work.
Right. Keeper of Uldaman is on curve, very powerful here. You're also playing into a turn of Consecration if he has it, so if you went for Muster for Battle and Shield, Secret Keeper, you are potentially going to get blown out. He's going to first see what secret it is. He's really hoping it's Avenge. Avenge is a very common secret to play on turn 1 if you're forced to, but Redemption is definitely painful.
He's still fine with Redemption, though. Now the question is, do you attack into Shield Minibot? Because there is a possibility of Blessing of Kings.
Oh, yeah, that's also a good point.
And
Blessing of Kings would be very good for Cipher.
So I think you do attack into the shield. This way you force a trade instead of just losing a minion.
Yeah, then it become a 6/5, and then whatever 3 health minion can trade into it. Both these 3 attack minions can trade into it. So I think it's a very reasonable attack. And these subtle things are very impactful for the following turns. I mean, we know that Cipher doesn't have the Blessing or the Consecration or whatever, but if he did, the punish could have immediately determined the board state, which determines the game.
Absolutely. And now the big question, how do you do the Knife Juggler Unleash the Dudes? Do you attack with the weapon first into the 3/4? You kill it with the 2/1 and then you do it?
I mean, you might even just play Knife Juggler, Secret Keeper, and keep your coin. It depends on how you really want to do this, because you get to keep your Coghammer weapon, and you don't have to use your coin. But you still don't have Mysterious Challenger, so it's not a guaranteed thing. Okay, so he chooses to go for the guarantee.
He needs the board, because he knows his follow-up is not that great. He has that Belcher, which is good, but it's not amazing. He still didn't pick the Mystery Challenger, or even Dr. Boom.
Yeah. What I really like about this play is that it dictates a strong answer like Consecration. And if it did, Consecration takes all of Cipher's turn, which gives him the initiative on board with Belcher.
Yeah. Well, we know Cipher doesn't have the Consecration yet, so Sludge Belcher is the best play, and then kill one of the dudes. So a bit passive, but not bad at all.
So Cipher is in a position where, for the next 2 turns, he's pretty much set. And Cifka is the one that has to navigate this very carefully because he's outside of this Belcher and the
well, he got an
Pilot
option
Shredder. Yeah, his options weren't that good.
Now it's interesting because he can actually opt into for Repentance and Pilot Shredder to counter Mystery Challenger. Because you know Mystery Challenger is being played on 6. Like, you expect it to happen.
It's true.
So
but then you leave your Juggler wide open.
You do. So you have to think about which play will be better.
Man, that really stings. Because if he doesn't have Challenger, let's say he had his own Pilot Shredder, then you lose a lot of your board power. Because Knife Juggler gets just ridiculous with the hero power of the Paladin. You keep summoning a 1/1 and you keep throwing a Knife Juggle out, which can dictate if you pick off a board.
Oh man, it's tough.
Secret Keeper?
Oh, I wasn't thinking about Secret Keeper at all.
He's going for the snipe on the...
So he's still going to
Belcher?
play Repentance.
Okay.
Or not. Okay.
Oh! I was ready for the MLG montage parodies music to start kicking on. But looks like he missed it. And, I mean, now you have to think, is it time to Mysterious Challenger? Because, I mean...
I think it's amazing. Just go for it and kill the
you
juggler.
just have to make sure that you're not going to get completely bullied. But
how can you get bullied then?
well, your opponent has a pretty good board. So...
Probably the best play for StanCifka is to get Mysterious Challenger himself and play it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. One of the things is that Cifka, if he draws the Mysterious Challenger on turn 6, he should play it and not attack, unless he has a really dominant board trade. And that's the biggest problem with Mysterious Challenger. If you don't have a really strong board with it, it's very easy to isolate it.
Yeah, that's right. But if you have it behind its taunt, it feels good.
The Knife Juggler is very threatening.
Yeah, you probably go and kill the Juggler. You don't want to risk having a Doomsayer or anything weird coming from the Shredder.
Gives such good trades, though. And you know that Noble Sacrifice is up, so if Noble Sacrifice buffs the 1/2, then he can also trade past that as well.
Blessing of Kings. So you can be aggressive here. Actually, Cipher is at 19, so if you go for the 1/2, you can play Repentance. You can attack face with the 1/1, or like the 1/2 with the 1/1. See where the Avenge lands. If the Avenge lands on the Mysterious Challenger, you're good, because then you kill the 1/2 with Secret Keeper.
Yes.
And then buff Shredder, go face.
Yeah, and if the other way around, you just buff another mid-sized minion, and then you make sure that you push a little bit damage. Because one thing that is relevant is, forget the board, I'm threatening to just win the game. And that's a pretty good target for Cifka, right? Because now he doesn't have to trade the Shredder. He can just buff the 1/2 or the 1/1.
Yeah.
And then keep the Shredder as a threat of like hard. It's difficult to remove.
I think the smart move was to start attacking with the weapon.
Yep. And that's through knowledge of understanding what secrets your opponent runs. It's very common for your opponent to run 2 Noble Sacrifices.
And you still got Repentance this.
Yeah. And I mean, it buffs Secret Keeper, so.
Yeah, it buffs Secret Keeper, but what's more important, it actually counters Boom. So there's the Dr. Boom being played. You have an easy way to deal with it.
Right. Boom is in this like weird state where like playing Boom would help, but you might just die to like the pressure. There's 11 represented right now, and there's also this thing of, is that Noble Sacrifice you just played?
Exactly,
like,
right.
How do I actually get past this secret? We know it's Repentance, but Cipher could think about all the possibilities. If I attack this, what if it's Avenge, and then this Shredder becomes a 7/5, and then I deal more. You know, I take just as much damage as I would have.
I think you still play True Silver and attack into the Secret Keeper.
Oh man, and then
You
just let it be potential Noble Sacrifice and deny that value.
If that's, well, you hope it's actually Repentance, I guess, or Competitive Spirit.
Repentance here is actually very good for Cipher.
So it's like, if it's Avenge, you then probably attack into Shredder. If it's redemption, you're good. If it's competitive, a competitive spirit is great.
Goes face.
Pressure.
He goes face, and he knows it's not noble sacrifice. Sees this as repentance. He has to play really quick because of time limits, and that was not the sequence that Cipher was looking for. He's gonna probably go face here. Yeah. Oh man.
That was a mistake, but it wasn't really a mistake. He's still in great shape. He will play Tyrion.
Cipher has a Belcher.
There is a Belcher, but Cipher has Tyrion. And if there is no silence,
you're right.
Cipher will actually be in a commanding position. Yeah. If he gets...
Wow.
He wins with Consecration.
Tyrion is really big. You know, of course, that's one of the most obvious things I could say at the moment. Tyrion is a very high impact card with its Death Rattle and Divine Shield. But specifically, I was thinking about, like, this basically means Cipher needs Owl, if he even has it.
Yeah. What about Second Blessing of Kings?
Well, I was thinking about Keeper of Oldemon, maybe. But I don't think that's enough either.
If he gets Blessing of Kings, he wins.
Whoa!
Yeah! That's it! That's enough! Because he buffs the Shredder. He kills
and
Tyrion.
that's going to be the game. We have a tied series going into Game 5. Cipher can't believe it.
Wow.
Oh. It's just an exciting series, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
You know what, Frodan? People might not like the Secret Paladin deck overall, but Secret Paladin versus Secret Paladin is super intense and intricate.
When it's that close, yeah.
Yeah.
We had one player that had Mysterious Challenger and one player who didn't, but Cifka played his hand very well. By the end of the game, he was just top decking, right? And we saw that Cipher had a lot of gas, but a couple of really crucial turns dictated the pace. The first is, of course, going for a Knife Juggler and being able to dominate that board, and Cipher having like a very awkward response. He had to play like very weak stuff and then hit.
Do you think he whiffed at the very end? When he played Secret Keeper, he wasn't expecting Repentance.
Oh yeah, that was also a really big turn too. What he needed to do was to kill off one of those minions so that Tyrion would be much more effective over the next turn. Because I think he was really expecting a Noble Sacrifice. Because the way it was played made it look like Noble Sacrifice. And he attacked on autopilot, like without thinking, like, okay, this has to be Noble Sacrifice, and I have to think about the right trades afterwards.
That's why I was thinking about attacking the Secret Keeper with the weapon.
Yeah.
Even if you get blocked, you attack into it probably with Mysterious Challenger.
And Cipher was also calculating, if this is Noble Sacrifice, how much damage do I have if I push for face here? And, you know, realistically, if Cipher didn't pick up Blessing of Kings, he was dead next turn.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Cipher played... He didn't play correctly, but he also played to a good line, assuming he was correct in his thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we have yet another tough matchup for Cifka. It feels like the best matchup he had was Priest versus Paladin, and outside of that, it's 50% or less. So he's not out of the woods, but, I mean, he's been working. He's getting out to an okay hand. Like,
he has full cannon. That's something.
Yeah, I mean, Owl is pretty decent against early game Paladin if he gets like big buffs and mini bot stuff.
Oh, Hellfire is a great card as well.
But you know, if he had Chow, I would be willing to bet anything that he'd play Chow if he drew turn 1 right now.
Are you sure? Yeah. Are you absolutely sure? Maybe there is a play where you actually expect
I would
Juggler.
bet almost anything that he would play Chow.
Okay, I will agree with you on that one. So looking at Cipher's hand, he has Master for Battle and Shredder, that's great, and he kept Mysterious Challenger. He really values it as a card.
Yeah. A couple important cards that he's also picked up is Hellfire. That is really big to control the board if it balloons too big. Cipher gets a pretty decent curve, you know.
But this is an irritating card draw, because on turn 2 he got Secret Keeper, which he wanted to play on turn 1. On turn 3 he gets Shielded Minibot, which he really wanted to play on turn 2.
But I mean, he still has the Muster and the Pilot Shredder Dream, so he can't be too unhappy. Plus he has Lotheb into Challenger.
Changes
a lot. Cipher, I want to emphasize that Cipher has drawn worse this series than I think Cifka. And so now he's finally starting to get like pretty good draws. Last game he got a pretty decent draw. In this game he's got a really good draw. So, you know, Cifka has to be able to deal with this right here, right now. Too bad he draws Mind Control Tech the turn after he needed it. Because he would have loved to save Hellfire and be able to use it as in a higher impact situation like killing the Shredder.
That Lothar was so clutch. Because it will protect the Shredder, and that will be another minion to deal damage to face.
Well,
so
I mean, do you play Fel Cannon and do nothing? it's just a 3/5 because it doesn't kill anything.
Well, it will kill Shredder, but there is a secret. What was the secret? Is it Avenge?
I believe it was Avenge, but I might be mistaken.
Yeah, but Cipher doesn't know exactly what the secret is, right?
He knows it's not Repentance. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he knows it's not Redemption. Now he knows
now
it's not
he knows
Repentance.
it's not Repentance. Another Shredder. Well, you probably still play Lothab here.
Lothab ensures that you have a very sticky board, so because you can't use spells to easily pick apart like a Shredder, and that means the Mysterious Challenger will have the highest impact.
The question, though, is do you kill the Fel Cannon, or do you just go face?
I like going for the face because you complicate the board, but you know what? He says, I don't want you to have any opportunity to taunt this up or pick up really good trades. And it would have been good, maybe, because then Cifka could have silenced and then traded, and he wouldn't have that 2/2.
Yeah, exactly. And then Fel Cannon actually hits the Lothab. So it puts Cipher in an awkward position where he has to kill the Fel Cannon anyway, and he just lost part of the board. All right. 5/5, 2/2, you can't cast spells. What do you do? Can't play Sylvanas this turn.
Well, the hardest thing is not this turn. It's what do you do next turn if your opponent drops Mysterious Challenger?
Siphon Cell? Or you might just attack with something, get a 4th minion, and then play Mind Control Tech and steal Mysterious Challenger.
Well, that will happen if he leaves up Mind Control Tech, but if he leaves out the minion that gets played. The minion he'd play here would be Sunfury Protector if he wants that plan, but that's very optimistic.
So you play Sunfury and you pray that it doesn't die?
I think
there is no reason to kill my Sunfury.
I just play MCT, It's not a very high chance that you get very big value off of this.
And you still have that Siphon Cell that you can play next turn. So Mysterious Challenger.
Yeah, this is the point which a lot of people start groaning. It's like, how do I kill a Mysterious Challenger that curves really well?
You do kill Mind Control Tech, though. At this point, you don't want the Warlock to have any minions on board, and you're fine with taking 3 damage there and losing a 2/2 minion. Or do you?
Because he wants to spread it out. You by keeping the 2/2 on the board, you increase your chances that Big Game Hunter becomes less of a big tempo swing in your opponent's favor.
And you get a competitive Spirit minion, which is a 3/3.
Yep. Or even more, depending if your opponent attacks. And then
it is also pressure. It's 3 more damage to face. So you drop your opponent to 12. Are you afraid of Molten Giant Shadow Flame? That is something you have to keep in mind as well. Because in fact, the Reno Warlock does play 1 Molten Giant.
Well, Siphon Soul means that the Mysterious Challenger comes right back. Sylvanas means that you take 13 damage guaranteed to the face, and any 2 damage kills you, which happens to be the Consecration in Cypher's hand.
So is there anything he can do to not die here?
He can taunt.
Shredder taunt?
Yeah, Shredder taunt is the way to survive, but that is no way to win. I think he might have to gamble on Sylvanas here. Because if you Shredder taunt, he's going to get through the taunt super easily, and then you're back in the position on turn 7. How am I supposed to remove the board? You don't actually have anything.
Maybe you hope that Shredder will actually get something good. It's...
Oh yeah, there is that Doomsayer possibility.
Yeah, and you get a minion. You still have Dark Bomb and Soulfire, so you might fight back a bit.
Doomsayer actually doesn't even...
It stops damage.
Guarantee you anything. It gives you 7 life, I guess.
So Silence finishes the game? Alright, it's not a Silence.
I actually think that maybe one of the best cards or best minions to drop off of this is Unstable Ghoul for StanCifka, because that might soften up that Dark Bomb and Soulfire can clean things up. So
right.
that's like a really funny thing where a lot of people's like, oh, Doomsayer, Doomsayer. It's like, well, maybe Unstable Ghoul is better.
Well, Flame Juggler is not great.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not a 1/1.
But you still... Do you Yeah, you still go face, like even if there is a Reno. But if he picks up Reno, that will be really interesting.
It is interesting because if you leave up minions, then combat math makes Avenge and Noble Sacrifice live, so you have a better chance of having a strong board. And this is the turn before the...
Oh! That is a Reno. So you might get another turn, and if you can get another turn after that...
Well, let's see first what happens here. Let's not get too hasty here. I know everyone's
super excited,
super happy about Reno Jackson, but...
Well, it's definitely a helpful card.
Yeah, I'd say. Avenge lands on the mini bot. That's kind of ugly.
I think that's really good for Cipher because now he can kill the 6/2.
Yes, if it landed on Loath, he would have been pretty sad. You Soulfire something?
You might Soulfire after Reno. Like you definitely do not Soulfire before Reno.
Can you imagine?
Oh, he might actually Soulfire the 6/2. So Reno into Soulfire, Lothab.
2-1. I mean, he doesn't have a weapon, so. But there's a bigger problem in the macro, in the bigger scheme of things, of like, he's not addressing the mysterious challenger. But no, it doesn't matter because we're gonna be rich at least for one turn.
And then the next turn we have to get the Twisting Nether.
I think that's a better target discard. I don't think Alex Straza has much application. Boom to follow it up, but he might even just consecrate this turn and keep a very dynamic board, because if he all-ins on Boom and then he has Twisting Nether on 8,
yeah,
you actually lose.
Yeah, you
right there and then.
You want to keep Dr. Boom as a follow-up.
Yeah. I like Consecration much better.
Absolutely. Do you use Shredder to kill Reno?
Probably the Divine Shield, right?
Yeah.
It's a,
you don't
might
want
as well
to
cash in on it.
You now is
the time where you kind of expect the Twisting Nether as a worst case scenario.
Or Doomsayer from Shredder. That might be the time as well. Oh man, is it Twisting Nether? Nope.
We're still back.
So
oh, he's got ways to survive. Like he can Siphon Soul.
Siphon Soul and Dark Bomb.
Maybe even Owl, the mini bot. Because if you Dark Bomb, you might just gain 1 health effectively by having a 3/2 pop out.
It's like the thing with Dark Bomb is that if you feel you still have a chance to take the game back and he still has the chance, then Iron Beak Owl is definitely the play. But if you feel like, hey, there is no way I'm coming back unless Doomsayer, you go for the Doomsayer. But I do agree with you, Froden. Owl and Siphon Soul is probably the best. He goes up to 20, and then there is, what, 3, 7, only 8 damage on board after that.
Well, it's about to double with Dr. Boom.
Yeah, but it's delayed damage.
It does give him another chance to potentially get Twisting Nether, you know, the big game hunter or something big swinging like that. So let's see what is up next in the magical box of surprises known as Secret Paladin.
Is it Tyrion?
And for my next trick, I will play Dr. Boom.
Yeah, Dr. Boom is the best. Kill the owl, go face.
Guess you trade in the 1/1. There's no real value into it. You don't have Quartermaster into your deck, so you can't buff the Silverhand recruits. They are just pawns.
Twisting Nether is actually, it's good, but it's not that amazing.
Twisting Nether saves him because he only has Coghammer.
Yeah,
and he would take at most 8 damage from Boombots. He'd still be alive.
But he still is getting a minion from the Shredder, and he's getting the spiders.
Oh, Cypher's worried about Molten Giants. Or Giant. There's no Giants
Molten Giant Shadow Flame. It's a possibility.
Man, that deck used to be so cool. Playing 8/8s for 4 mana or less. But nowadays, it's just the Lonely Giant.
One small giant.
1/8/8.
The final giant.
Cypher, you got to make a decision. If you put your opponent down to 13, you can play Moltens for 3, giving him Molten, Shadow Flame, and something else.
He's still in a good position. Like
if he leaves him at 16, though, he can't Molten Shadow Flame. So
I like it. Demon Wrath. That's a AoE card. Can you do something with it? You can play, actually. You can kill Boom in theory.
Yeah, roll high on the Implosion. Oh, man.
Not anymore.
Shadow Flame is only part of the response here. I think he has to Implosion.
Implosion and Demon Wrath to be able to soak some bomb damage. So maybe Implosion the 4-3.
Yep. Let's see what comes out first.
That's not a Doomsayer.
Man.
But it dies to Demon Wrath.
Yeah, that is true.
But
now it's...
Are you still dead, though?
If the Boombots hit for...
You have 7
If the Boombots hit for 5, you die. No, if it hits for 3, you die because of Demon Wrath. You know, Cipher went for a greedy tap. He could have actually stayed alive if he potentially rolled like Demon Wrath here and then like Implosion.
So 3 is deadly. That's it.
That's it. So Cipher will be going to the semifinals after a grueling best-of-5. Excellently played by both players here. And Cipher will stop in the top 6, but he still gets 2.5K to boot. Meanwhile, Cipher will move on as the representative here from the UK.
So the champion falls.
Yeah.
Long live the king.
I'm actually pretty happy here because Cipka's definitely a well-profiled player by now. You know, a lot of people pay attention to his runs and his decks, and they really like it. You know, I love watching Cipher play because he brings really cool decks. But Cipher is probably the best player from the UK right now, and UK is a really strong region, country, whatever, continent, region, whatever you want to say. You make fun of my American geography, it's fine. But UK has a lot of great players, and Cipher is probably the best of the best there. So I'm happy to see him be able to take this win.
Is the victor. Yeah, he's a great guy. He was playing Hearthstone from the very beginning. He was always around. He has a lot of top 8 finishes. He has one tournament that he actually won. And I was talking to him, is it the tournament that you are going to win, Cipher? Is it one of the majors that you are going to take?
Yep.
And you know, he's really laid back, he's silent, but he's really always bringing the good decks. And he's not only good in those tournaments. Have he ever got invited? He got invited.
No, he's qualified. He reminds me a lot of Tice, in a lot of ways. Like he's very consistent. Like he qualifies for a lot of events. He's not really winning them, but he's placing like top 8, top 4 even. And people just kind of forget for a while, but they keep seeing him once in a while, and he's beating some of the fan favorites. And eventually, people are right now. People aren't happy. They're like, you beat Cipher, and Cipher is a favorite for many players. But over time, you're going to realize that this guy brings pretty solid decks. He plays very strong. And you know what? Maybe he's not as loved as this guy here, Cipher. Definitely a class act in many ways and a great player.
He might have not won the match, but he won our hearts.
Oh, certainly, certainly. Bring Control Priest. Gosh.
And it was really interesting to see those games.
Yeah. Good stuff all around, guys. But that's only our first match. We have 5 today. We have our other quarterfinals, followed by our 2 semifinal matches with Kolento and Shangzi waiting. Cipher will be playing Kolento later today, but for now, we're going to go to a break. And when we come back, our second quarterfinal here at the StarLadder I-League Grand Finals. It's going to be Dog versus Surrender. Stay tuned.